sentience. However, the science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke said many years ago, a sufficiently advanced technology may be indistinguishable from magic. And certainly some of the encouraging advances in artificial intelligence research, by which we mean machine learning, of course, we're getting close to it being curious, machines that can question each other, creative and conscious. As I mentioned, science fiction quote there from Arthur C. Clarke, it's no longer science fiction. We talked earlier about future now, that's where we are. A second quote, sorry to be hitting you with quotes, folks at home, but the quantum physicist Richard Feynman famously said, "A little knowledge is more dangerous than a whole lot." I think he's correct, but if he is correct, the next speaker is probably the safest man that I know. And our next presenter is my friend, we've promised you all day, some of the greatest minds on the planet. This is no less true of the next speaker. It's Dr. Evan Shellshear, the head of analytics at BRE. Evan.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Adrian, and thank you everyone on YouTube for joining me today in this journey into AI. Our story today begins in 1769 with author and inventor Wolfgang von Kempelen as he left the Imperial Palace in Vienna, Austria, and had taken part in a presentation by the illusionist Francois Pellier, and had decided after seeing this amazing performance that he would do something even more amazing. He put together a plan to trick the world. Wolfgang locked himself up for a while to create the world's first chess automaton, a device that he called the Turk. It was a contraption that was approximately 2 meters high, with an individual who had a torso and a head with a grey beard and grey eyes, wearing an Ottoman robe and an Ottoman torso on his head, holding an Ottoman pike in his left hand. In his right hand lay upon a chessboard, for which unsuspecting players would compete against the Turk. When you opened the doors of the cabinets, which measured 1 meter wide by about 1/2 meter deep and 75 centimeters high, you would see on the inside a contraption containing cogs and gears that seemed to drive the automaton and help it win against unsuspecting players. It was a device that Wolfgang took with him around the world for almost 84 years in Europe and America and beat unsuspecting chess players everywhere. This was 250 years before the current AI revolution. It was an amazing device, and it's something that would baffle people to believing that the device was possessed by evil spirits. So how did Wolfgang do this? How did Wolfgang, 250 years ago, before the current AI revolution, achieve something like this? How is it possible? The truth is he didn't. The truth is von Kempelen cheated. Von Kempelen created a device that was big enough to house some of the world's preeminent chess masters within his box, within the cabinet. The chess masters would hide in there and play chess against unsuspecting players and beat them at their own game. People couldn't believe it. It looked like these gears and these automation parts were driving the chessboard to respond. The Turk would nod its head when it had been successful in beating a player, reaching checkmate. It was an amazing invention back then, but since his time, we've come a long way. We no longer require people to sit in cabinets to drive these type of tricks. And AI is giving us new technologies and new capabilities that amaze people day by day. In fact, the AI has come so far that we now see it common in films, the type of thing that's possible, like in this 2011 Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol film. Films like this are great. In particular, in the current world environment, when we're being faced by COVID and other major health challenges, it's fantastic to be able to go into a theatre and to be able to enjoy that moment of disbelief, to go into the film and pretend you're nowhere else, to see things like that and imagine what it could be like to have a world with this type of technology. But what if I told you you no longer needed to suspend your disbelief? What if I told you that these technologies are already out there? What you just saw there is not some secret government laboratory experiment. It was a single person who wrote some code and created a programming used TensorFlow to make him disappear from video in real time. What you just saw there was not a Photoshop of a video that existed, but it was removing a human being from video footage in real time. Imagine what's possible with this. So let's consider the situation. I run a CCTV company, and I need to make sure I detect people that shouldn't be in a certain location. So what do? If someone wants to get into my area and not be seen and not be detected, there's nothing. If the person has access to this code, which was released open source for free to the world to allow anyone with coding skill to be able to use, they can now inject that code into my CCTV camera network and disappear from my footage like they were never there. If AI techniques are able to allow us to suspend disbelief and cause people to disappear from videos, then that's only scratching the surface. It can do a lot more than that. Not only can it cause you to be removed from a video, it can actually cause you to do things you never did before. What we just saw there was another example of the power of AI. Those two people who danced like professional ballerinas had never done that in their life. What was happening was AI was extracting the poses from the ballerina in the source video, taking those poses and projecting them onto the two individuals and using AI to fill in the frames to make it look like those two people were genuinely carrying out those motions. What you just saw there was profound. If we think about this just for 1 minute, we think about what we just saw and the legal implications that this could have, it is very deep. Imagine you're walking home one day. You've left work and you've gotten off the bus and you're walking the last couple hundred meters to your house. You pass an acquaintance that you say hi to on the way and you continue bumping into a few other people who you do and don't know before getting home. You notice as you're walking towards your door that there's someone across the street with their smartphone out, seemingly taking a photo of the scene in front of them, including yourself. It's nothing unusual. People walk around with their smartphones and take videos and do photos all the time, so you don't think anything of it. You go home, prepare yourself a meal, and go to bed. The next morning, you wake up to hear loud thumping on your door, people banging desperately as if they're trying to tell you something, to which you stand up and head straight to your front door to open it to be confronted by two policemen. The two policemen are standing there with video evidence of you assaulting someone in the street. The video footage shows you walking along and suddenly punching the person next to you, and suddenly this person falling over onto the ground, a scene that never happened. But according to the police, they have the evidence. You were there. You hit this person. The video footage is here. Aggravated assault is 3 years in jail. But it gets better than this. It doesn't stop there. In addition to recording that video footage of you, the person took 5-second recording of your voice. If they're able to get 5 seconds of you talking at one point, we are now able to use advanced AI technologies to synthesize things that you never said. They could create a voice over that with your same accent, same intonation, same tone, so that not only you hit this person and knock them down, you abuse them while they're on the ground. It's shocking. You'll never get away from this one. And this is the type of technology that exists. But AI is not just about creating fake news, deep fakes, fake images, and tricking our eyes. AI is much more than this. At Biari, we use AI to drive business processes and to create better outcomes for companies and use it in a positive way to ensure that we're able to run society more efficiently. While AI in these videos are forcing us to question our eyes, AI at Biari is forcing us to question our decisions. And one area that we work very deeply in and do a lot of work in is in the healthcare industry, an industry that has become more important than ever. And our latest foray into healthcare begins a few years ago in an area of regional Australia. A local political incumbent had been enjoying power for many years. However, the demographics of the region had been changing. It wasn't like it was when he started. People were getting older and requiring more healthcare, and issues were arising. This was leading to an additional burden on the healthcare system, which was causing wait times to increase beyond what people thought were acceptable. The news hit the media. People were complaining. An election was looming. Action needed to be taken, but it wasn't clear what should be done. The election came, the incumbent was voted out of power, and a new independent entered the industry. Who was the independent? A doctor. The public had put their faith in a doctor. They wanted someone who knew the system to fix it. They were desperate for a solution. It was at this point that Biari was engaged to come along and help out the hospital solve its waiting list crisis. We were told there wasn't budget in there to build new surgical theatres or overnight beds. We had to do something smart, and we had to do something quick. So we quickly assessed the situation, knowing very clearly that we didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend, that we knew the hospital had no appetite for large process changes within their existing system. They needed something that saved lives, and they needed it now. Given that time was of the essence, we jumped straight in. Luckily for us, we had a joker up our sleeve. For the last 5 years, Biari had been building a set of AI tools that was able to optimize the allocation of patients to theatre slots and book them in more efficiently. We'd turned what was once a theoretical curiosity into a reality. It was now able to take thousands of people, allocating to dozens of theatres across long horizons, and optimally do things that human beings could never do. So we jumped straight in and began configuring and implementing this system. The timeline was against us, and we had to work very hard to make it. We put together the system, ran the results, and produced everything that was necessary and loaded that into a deck. We started preparing the presentation that we would have to present to the executive team, including the medical team, the surgeons, and the executive committee. This was a team that had seen its fair share of IT failures. This was a team that was sick of being overpromised on IT opportunities and being under-delivered on. On the day of the presentation, we entered the room. It was a typical hospital, and it was one of those large Spartan rooms that's very utilitarian in nature. It had a number of medical devices over here. It had just a set of simple wooden tables surrounded like a U-shape like this, with the medical executives and the executive staff sitting around the outside. My colleague and I standing in the middle of this gauntlet, seeing the impatience on the faces and knowing that they were just wanting us to tell us that the project had failed like all the others. Under the pressure, we decided we needed to get straight into it. We skipped the introduction and jumped straight to the summary slide to show them the results. And it was this slide that changed everything. Before we kicked off the project, they told us that if we were able to achieve a 1% improvement in theatre utilisation, it would be a great outcome. The results we had achieved weren't 1%. They were double-digit improvements. 10 times better than good. At that moment, the arms unfolded. The executives leaned forward, and we knew we had their attention. We continued. Not only had we increased the utilization by double digits, we'd also been able to reduce the time to treat the critically ill, CPC1 patients who need their care within 30 days, beyond which point if they breach, there's a risk of them losing their lives. We showed how we could reduce this time as well as increasing the throughput. We showed how we could help achieve the hospital's KPIs in a better format than had been achievable before. We showed them the power of AI. As we left the presentation and had finished the results and had developed the system for them, I asked myself a question: why did this IT project not fail? What did we do that was different from all the other projects that I've seen, of which, according to the numbers, 50% of large IT projects fail, either failing outright, failing to deliver on their promises, or going over budget. So why didn't this happen here? To answer that question, I need to inform you some more about AI. I need to demystify this concept of what AI can really do for business operations. Because AI's benefit for an organization, if you're outside the entertainment industry, is not creating fake movements and fake videos. It's about improving business operations, and it's ways that we can operate more efficiently as a business and do things better. If we think about the true value that AI drives within an organization and what it does to help an organization, it's automation. If AI is the puppet on the stage, dancing to the buzzwords out there in the media, it's automation that's pulling the strings. But think about this a little bit more. How much does automation really matter? I'm sure all of you have seen projects where an automation agenda has begun and people have begun automating things that actually led to no business benefit at the end of the day. You automated this, you automated that, but at the end of the day, it made no impact on the business's bottom line. Why was that? The reason for this is for automation to truly create a benefit, we need to create scale. Automation needs to help us scale. It needs to be able to drive scaling within a business so that it can grow faster and more efficiently than before. And not only that, it's not just about scaling, it's about scaling the right thing, the core service offering of the business. If we think about this and we look at this value chain of what AI can do, it's AI driving automation, driving scale of those core business services within an organization. If we look at our specific scenario, we did two things that were smart. We targeted an area of the business that was part of their core service delivery, getting patients into a hospital and getting them treated as quickly as possible. And we targeted an area where it would be easy to get a win because it was driven by Excel sheets and manual data entry and extraction. It was an area where a win was possible that wasn't over-engineered and already quite complicated. And even better than that, we're able to fulfill the criteria of creating something that didn't require a process change. If we think about the process of why this works and why it didn't require a process change, we need to understand something about the health system. The way the health system works is typically when you're not well, you go and see a specialist. A specialist will look at you and they'll diagnose the issues that you have right now, and they will assist you with a diagnosis that they can put down on a request for admission and send to a hospital. The hospital will then take this request for admission, look at it, the admission managers will look at it and decide on if it's complete or not, and if it is, they'll then pass it on to a team of booking clerks. These booking clerks will then sit down and work through this pile of requests for admissions, thousands of these to be allocated over weeks of time in precious booking theatre slots, in slots of time that are available to be given to these people, and have to play this massive puzzle, put this huge puzzle together with pieces that interlocked in different angles in 3 dimensions, and something that is so complicated that people will struggle with this type of work. It is not something that humans are designed for. If we look at this process and what needs to happen with a booking clerk, is they need some way to have AI to assist them with that process. And what BRE had done is over the years, we'd worked on developing an algorithm that takes those patients and uses AI to allocate them to booking theatre slots that takes into account the criticality of care. How soon does it need to happen? Do they have infections? Do they need to go to a pre-admission clinic? What other elements are essential for this care to be delivered efficiently? And we applied it to this situation to help the booking clerks avoid having to use their Excel sheets and deliver care in this way. If you look at the way that worked for booking clerks, they were spending 8 hours a day trying to juggle all these different people and allocate them to the most efficient booking slots. It was an extremely difficult puzzle that our engine was able to alleviate and was able to, at the start of a day, provide them with a schedule for the booking theatres for the next 4-week period so that they knew what was possible and optimally allocate people to those slots. All that was required was no longer an 8-hour tedium of continually allocating one person after the other to different booking slots, but it was a matter of reviewing the quality and the accuracy of the output of this AI engine. This was all that was necessary. If we think about this for a moment, and we think about how do you do this? How did this work? What was the principle that we understood? The first principle that we understood was it wasn't the technology drove this. It was the business problem that drove this. If you start from the top and you want to apply this and think about using this yourself, the first step in this process is to find that core service offering that you need to scale. That thing within your business that delivers value to your clients and your customers that you want to scale. The next step you ask yourself is, how do I automate this? How can I automate this so it can scale more efficiently? The final step is to then find that AI technology to enable that, to solve that problem, and the value chain does not work the other way around. This is not something that we have a choice about anymore. With the COVID crisis, this is a must. If we look at the hospital and these large organisations, sometimes we find that the number of administrative staff outweigh the actual staff doing the work. If you think about this, is an organisation which has more administrative staff than medical staff, is it truly a hospital? Or is it really a place for doing administrative work? If 20% of your organisation just does accounting and you're not an accounting firm, you're delivering other services, then that is what you are. You have become to 20% an accounting firm. And we need to look to AI to solve this. And that is the point of this discussion today. It is the fact that there exists now next generation AI companies that aren't just using AI tools to solve this or that problem. They're embedding AI as part of their core service delivery. AI is within that critical value chain to deliver value to the customer that allows them to scale more efficiently and automate these processes than any other company in their sector. This is the true power of next generation AI, automating and scaling effectively. If you look at this and want to apply this in your own scenario, there are 2 ways that you can do this. The first way is we can again approach that from the technology upwards and try to figure out what's a great new AI technology that can be applied and attempt to find some solutions in there that we can apply this to. That's not next generation AI. The other option is we can map out our core service delivery, the true value we deliver to our customers, and understand that from end to end. We can look along that process and try and find those points that are driven by manual Excel activities, manual database entry and extraction processes, and look to automate them beyond where they are now. So take away the Excel, take away the manual parts that are holding us back from automating and scale, and use AI to derive true value. This was the success of our healthcare case. And within our case, we were fortunate that it's an area that's extremely important now and is receiving a lot more attention, and that we can say that we're able to assist with. The power of the AI engine was to understand what was happening within that healthcare scenario and to know that if we were able to automate this process and create a better outcome, it wouldn't require the booking clerks to change the way they did things. Instead of starting with an empty Excel sheet, they'd start with one pre-filled for them that they could just quality check and ensure that it was okay. Becoming a next generation AI company is essential. It's an imperative that all large organizations must do to avoid bureaucracy and to allow themselves to scale. We see large organizations that have growth trajectories in the billions like startups, and these are companies that are driven by AI, next generation AI companies. The reality is there are genuinely 2 types of AI companies out there. And every single company, in fact, belongs into one of these 2 categories. Either, whether you think you're doing AI or not, you are 2 types of AI companies. The first type of AI company is your next generation AI company. That is the company that's using techniques like machine learning, optimization, and other well-known AI techniques to be able to drive an AI agenda within the organization to allow them to automate and scale their growth. The other type of AI company is a type of AI company that Wolfgang von Kempelen would recognize. It is an AI company that is trying to fool people by having an army of human beings behind the scenes, hidden in their back office, like Wolfgang hid people in his cabinet, to carry out the activities, to try and scale the organization with people. It's an AI company that for over 250 years, since Wolfgang von Kempelen created his Turk, would be still recognizable to him. It is this company that the next generation AI company will be the one that will be fooling as they overtake them and scale on their growth path beyond these types of AI companies. Thank you very much.
Queensland's kind of like your favourite song. It's even better live.